Patterns are an essential part of the game. Most people at the beginning levels don't think too hard about them, but they're something that you should build in as soon as possible once you know how to hit the ball. The reason why we want to do that is it helps us highlight our strengths, it helps us hide our weaknesses, it helps us exploit our opponent's vulnerabilities, and there are a bunch of universal patterns that actually work against most players. In today's video, we're going to go over those 3 patterns that win matches. Let's get started. So the first thing that we have to establish when we're doing all 3 of these patterns is they're going to be based on taking time away by moving into the court, not by necessarily hitting the ball harder. What I mean is when we're rallying, you're going to be having a pretty solid position back here. And then instead of trying to hit the ball harder, you're just going to scoot up a little bit and take that time away by taking up this real estate here. Now, this is something that anybody can do at every level. Not everybody has the ability to just load up and fire one at like an extra 10 or 20 miles per hour. So one more time, you'd be in your normal position, just holding the baseline. And then as soon as you see an opportunity to do a little more, you just scoot in. And that's going to be all we're working on with all 3 patterns. So our first pattern is really simple. It's a rally cross court and then a change of direction down the line. But like I said in the first part, we're not changing direction by hitting the ball harder and trying to take time away and put pressure on ourselves at the same time. What I want to do is hit cross court, maintain a solid rhythm at my home base, which will be a couple feet behind the baseline. And then when I change direction, I'm going to go into the court and take time away that way, which makes it more reliable and puts less risk on me. So having the normal rally here, there's nothing fancy going on. We basically keep each other neutral. And then one of the shots just goes there. Didn't hit the ball harder, kept the same height, same pattern, but as a result, she's still off on the side of the court and I didn't take time away from myself and I kept that time pressure on her. Now, without talking through it, good. Now, I could take that and lower it and hit it harder, which is completely allowed, but the main thing is this real estate change is all that really does the damage. So our next pattern is one of my personal favorites. It's a hammer pattern. Now the trick with this one is similar to the explanation in the beginning. You want to focus on taking time away, not by hitting the ball harder. All you're going to do here is you're going to basically hammer on one side relentlessly, regardless of what openings come up on the court. Now, the trick is at a certain point, your opponent sees the opening that you created and they start to lean and wait for the ball to go to the other side. And you just basically put the ball right back behind them as they're committing to moving to the open court. So with the hammer pattern, I basically choose a side that I want to pick on. And regardless of what happens, I just keep going to that side. So from this position, let's say I go backhand. I'm in position. I go backhand again. There's a big opening. I go backhand again. And she sees the opening that I'm creating on the other side of the court. And because she knows how fast I can hit the ball, and I keep taking up a little space by little space, she eventually leans to go get that ball, and the ball just goes back where I was planning on going anyway, which takes pressure off of you. It takes the thought process out of the game because you've already decided to just pound on one side of the court until the point's over. So now one more example without talking through the point. I'll just pick my side. There's my opening, and I go back behind her. And at some point, your opponent just kind of wants to get out of that corner. The trick here is understand when to stop doing it, because if they don't bite on it and they kind of get settled, then you're feeding into them in a relaxed position. So you got to know when to just call it quits and move the ball again. But the other thing is you can pick up the hammer tactic in the middle of a point as well. You can move the ball around and then start pounding on one side, and it works exactly the same. So our last pattern that we're going to do is based on serving, because serving is one thing that you're in full control of, so why not build a pattern from that position? Now what we're going to do is one that is tried and tested at all levels. We're serving out wide, and then we're hitting the ball to the open court. That comes with a couple of inherent benefits that are low risk. You hit the ball to the open court and you create a big gap that gives your opponent a lot of movement pressure. Even if you don't have the best follow-up shot, they still have to go from where you put them to the other side of the court. If it's a winner, great. If it's a high pressure ball, awesome. If you don't hit it great, you're starting off even in most cases. So there's not a lot of risk involved in the follow-up shot. For people who don't have added spin to their serves, just add a little bit of location pressure by just moving yourself off to the side of the court to generate a little bit more angle. But here's a couple of examples of that. So if you don't have a really good slice serve, like from here, what you might want to do is just give yourself a little bit of added assistance by stepping off to the side of the court. If I go slow or fast, it doesn't matter. I'm opening up the court that way, and then I'm moving the ball somewhere over to the other side of the court. If I hit the ball to the middle, based on her moving from doubles alley to middle, that's still a lot of steps. But if we are able to execute both properly, we end up with this right here. Way over there. Ace! We planned that. You end up with this over here. Serve out wide. Wide open court, a lot of running, no big pressure. Big opening. Way over there. That's a great shot. Not everybody can do that, but obviously she can. Doesn't hurt my feelings. I want you guys to see that it doesn't always work, but she had to come up with that shot under a lot of pressure. And if I keep doing that over and over again, the odds of her making it versus me making it are skewed way more in my favor. One more just to redeem myself. Good opening. Good. And see, came up with a normal backhand to follow it up. It's not always going to win you the point, but she has to come up with shots from high pressure situations over and over again. But that's going to wrap up today's video, guys. Remember, patterns are essential. They help you hide your weaknesses. They help you highlight your strengths. They help you exploit your opponent's weaknesses, but only if you're paying attention to them and executing them effectively. These 3 patterns that we did are universally effective, and you'll see them used at all levels, from pros all the way down to USTA regular matches. So if you know anybody who would benefit from this, please send it off to them. Other than that, I'll see you guys in the next